Captain Logan.
I'm Eric.
And I'm Rasco.
And the three of us have gotten together to do a split spoiler cast. Originally, I thought this was going to be a How We Felt About.
Not.
And we've got to talk about this movie, if we're going to talk about it at all. So, if you have not seen the film yet, don't watch this. I mean, unless you really don't care about spoilers and you just want to know some things about this movie, but, like, if you have any interest in this at all, and if you, like...
It's nigh impossible to talk about this movie without spoilers.
It's just, yeah, well, I mean, and we could talk vaguely about whether or not we liked certain things and stuff,
but
and performances and things, but...
Some things that I like, or that I like or don't like, are recontextualized.
Yeah.
And I don't know how I feel about certain things.
Yeah, absolutely. So we decided to do this as a Spoilercast. So once again, big giant warning. If you don't want this movie spoiled, before, and there's a big surprise ending thing that is the reason we all decided to go see it together. Rasco said, Captain Logan, you specifically have to see this. And it wasn't until the last 10 seconds before I knew why that was. So, so anyway, don't watch this if you have any interest at all whatsoever in seeing this movie. And that is my little preamble, so let's go ahead and get straight into it. You have now seen this twice.
Yes, I have.
And I guess just getting the ball rolling on this, I guess my question to you is, have your feelings on this one changed at all since you watched it the second time?
I think I feel about the same. There were a few little tiny details that I noticed that I noticed this time around that I actually really liked. Can I go ahead and just fully get into spoilers?
You can, okay, absolutely. So, this is a full-blown spoiler cast. Go ahead.
For example, this is one little small thing. Then the first time I watched it, I didn't really think too much about it, but at the same time, I didn't really know if it made all that much sense. Like, just when he first walks into the room and he's like, "You're first," and he takes her out. And then she goes over to the main character. I don't know her character's name, or it was Casey Cook. That's her name.
Yeah.
So when she goes over to Casey, she's like, "Pee yourself," and
that was another thing where I was like, "How would she know that?"
Yeah.
And when she comes back,
like I have to be missing something with that, but we'll get into it.
And they only go out in the room for 1 second, and then they immediately come back in. And you don't realize till later that personality, he has OCD. So when she peed herself, it pissed him off.
I actually picked all of that up.
Okay.
Because the first thing he does in the car is picking the trash up, and then when he walks in, he cleans off the seat.
I'm not trying to make you feel dumb. I caught that too.
Okay. I noticed it the second time. I wasn't paying that much attention.
Because it was a terrible M. Night Shyamalan movie that you knew you were walking into. We've seen his films.
Yeah, but...
Not saying that that's my opinion on the film as it is, but going into
you might have assumed that. Mm. Yeah, because I was trepidatious about even going, because when I saw trailers, I was like, I love McAvoy, and that seems like a really interesting kind of role, or bunch of roles to see him try to do. But then when I saw it with Shyamalan, I was like, I'm going to wait and see what people say about it.
Yeah. I don't know, but overall, I think coming out of it the second time, I still feel pretty much the same way about it. I really like this movie. I don't think that it's his best movie, and I have a few problems. I think that the biggest issue this movie suffers from is that it feels the need to explain things too much. And not everything. There's a few scenes where it's just very much there for people that are having a little bit of trouble getting into the movie. And even those scenes, they establish things like these, because the way they explain multiple personality disorder in this, I'm not a doctor, but it's not how it is in real life. Your body chemistry doesn't really change, I'm assuming. I mean, that seems ridiculous.
It doesn't.
And so those kind of scenes kind of drive that ridiculous factor a little bit home, because those over-expository scenes, that's what they're doing. They're just explaining aspects that you can't really believe until it's recontextualized by the end.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the movie's biggest issue. That being said, it's not a huge problem, and it's something that I actually kind of feel is in most of M. Night Shyamalan's movies, where there's a little bit, it's just not very organic dialogue when people feel the need to over-explain something that the audience needs to know in case they don't feel like they're getting enough. And I think in this movie, maybe he felt like he had to do that because he's lost a lot of people's trust, but at the same time, if you take it out of that, if you just turn off your ability to consider public perception of yourself as an artist, I think that it would make more sense to just not explain some of the things as much as they go into extreme detail with.
Boy, I'm torn on that a little bit. If you feel like it's forced exposition, and it's not natural. It doesn't feel like a thing somebody would actually see in the moment. It's just because you're in the audience. That is problematic. But I liked that very early on, I felt like I knew we weren't in something that was supposed to be too much like real life.
No, yeah, that's fair. Especially
so I thought that was an important thing. Like he puts the absurdity in front of you pretty quickly, and I was like, he's either trying to act like I'm like dumb enough that I won't realize that this is not what goes on in the real world, or he's trying to create internal logic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you're right. It kind of like that's true. The one scene that I think doesn't necessarily need to be there is the Skype scene. There is some information that you would need, but that's the best example of we're getting a little bit too much information. I don't even know if we need it necessarily.
I think that's fair.
Because you do have that one scene where she's walking with, I think he's the other doctor that she's gonna that she said she's informed him. I can't remember if it was the doctor she was saying would take care of them after her, or if that was just like another random character. I'm not sure, but that guy, that scene was enough. Because they kind of have a little conversation about you think these people have abilities. You talk about them like they have powers, and that's all I really needed. I didn't really need the Skype call. The Skype call is the scene that I think could either be shortened or just taken out of the movie completely.
I have to say that I'm really impressed now that you mentioned that, and that they're actually talking about it in terms of powers. When they start throwing around the word supernatural, really impressed I didn't call the ending.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know how I feel about this movie.
Yeah.
Because before the last 10 seconds, I thought this was the dumbest movie.
Really?
DID is a real condition.
Yeah, sure.
When you do something like this, you say, DID is something, and then you invent a new term and you say, this is something else? Making it DID...
All they have to do is say that it's a really extreme case of it, though, right? Because, it is... That is what it is, but it also has some really crazy extreme factors. I think part of the reason maybe you're thinking about that is just because they're talking about every case as if people have other physical conditions that go along with it that change depending on who has the personality.
But that's what they're suggesting.
What happens in real life
is that people with DID, because the way she talks about it doesn't seem like it's specific cases. It seems like she's suggesting that all people with DID physically alter when they switch personality.
She is, and I know that's not what happens. So like I said a second ago, we get that 15-20 minutes in, I thought it was the movie telling us how things work in this world.
Oh, see, I thought it was just being like it was just Shyamalan's brilliant ideas. What if when people who have multiple personality disorders actually became different people? I'm that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And then when she says this may be the root of where we believe in anything supernatural, and I'm no, that's dumb. But here's the thing. I told Rasco this after we saw the movie. Was while I'm watching this movie, I'm like this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. But if this was in a comic book, I wouldn't think twice about this. If it's a world with superheroes and superpowers, this is a fine explanation for something.
And it turns out it is.
And it turns out it is, and that makes me not know how I feel about this movie. Because up until the last 10 seconds, I don't like this movie. There are really good things. The acting is phenomenal.
All the way through, I think. I don't think there's any bad performance. I even like the Psychiatrist, I think.
Yeah, for the most part, he's always been good at building tension.
Shyamalan.
Shyamalan's always been good at building tension.
Even in bad movies?
Even in bad movies, I think he's good at building tension, I think. But I really wasn't going with this movie because it's a thing that I've talked about before where it's you have to give the movie its conceit, and I was not doing that. I was this is too far.
But was it because you couldn't figure out the conceit, where you weren't sure if it was supposed to be a conceit?
Well, I knew it was a conceit, but I thought it was a horror movie conceit, where it's people with dissociative, it seemed real easy and generic, and it really did seem like the next level of the serial killer movie of the person with multiple identities. Oh well, he actually becomes different people, and then what was the other thing? There was something else, and then the main girl's entire backstory. I was I don't know if you could get more generic than this. This is the most paint-by-numbers tragic backstory. And I still feel that way about her. Everything with the rest of the movie, I'm well, now it's a different world than the world I thought it was in, and I don't know how I feel about all of this.
You have to readjust.
Now I have to completely because I really, McAvoy's amazing. Like, regardless of anything, if you see this movie, you should see it for McAvoy. Because there's a scene where he's pretending to be one of the personalities, and he switches. He is a personality pretending to be a different personality,
and you can tell the difference
just by the way he moves and the way he looks. Mm-hmm. And I was so impressed. Every time
he switches, it's like he put on a whole other costume.
You can literally see it in his face. It's like the tension of his face muscles will change just randomly, and it's like you can totally see it in his face, especially towards the end where he cycles through all those personalities really quick.
And if it was, it's like his Batman animated series Clayface moment. Like,
and I was worried about that because I was like, this is literally the thing that we always do with shapeshifter characters. But what I liked about it, and it was still kind of silly, but what I liked about it was it is not what we always do where it's you see all the characters they've been. It is one actor changing and changing and changing, and he's amazing.
At least in giving us the rules of how the personalities work and who's allowed to take over when, it gave us an explanation for why that was going on right then. At least we had that. At least it wasn't random.
And I think
it didn't break its rules.
Yeah,
and rules are somewhat arbitrary, but we know what they are, and I like that. I also like that the original dominant personality, Kevin, the guy that is supposed to be that guy in the first place, that we don't see him until the last 20 minutes or 10, 15 minutes of the movie. I really like that.
We find out that he hasn't been present since 2014.
Yeah. I thought that was really cool, and of course he's just a regular person.
Because that was a question I had, and I thought maybe I misunderstood until we got to the end, where she keeps saying that Barry's in charge, but she calls him Kevin. Mm-hmm. I'm like, wait, if he's Kevin, why is Barry in charge?
Yeah,
it does make sense.
Because they've repressed him and they won't allow him to take control.
Yeah, so the entire conceit of this movie, I think, is a really dumb conceit for a normal movie, for a normal horror movie. But in a world with supervillains, it's kind of a cool supervillain origin story. I don't know how I feel about it. I'm so conflicted.
And what are other... you got me thinking about this. Even in a world of superpowers, something like this would have happened already, right?
Yes.
That's a question.
And that was a big thing I had, again, before the last 10 seconds of the movie, so I'm like, and no one's ever noticed before.
But at least
other
people seem to have noticed that she's not the only person that's picked up on different personalities having different physical issues, and when it gets really extreme and I'm like, okay, the internal logic is different, is when they say there's a person with dissociative identity disorder who when they're a sighted person they can see but they were born blind. Now I'm like, okay, we've taken this way too far. Yeah. And so, the movie either knows what it is, or this is all going to break down.
How has no one talked about that? In the news.
Well, there's that, yeah.
And what I feel
they don't talk about it like it's rare cases. You're right. They talk about it like it's all of them.
Yeah, and no one but this woman is theorizing this. I'm like, no, if you can't see him, then you can see. That's a big
deal, yeah.
I feel like it should have been just him. I feel like she should have been diagnosing him as DID, and not understanding he physically changes. Because she talks about people are allergic to bees in one personality and not in another, and that can't be the world you live in, and not have people believe that. Because that would be like someone coming out and saying that today, and us being like, how do we not notice this?
Yeah, we just won't believe it because it's too far outside of our understanding of the world, and I don't think in this day and age.
And the way she talks about
it, maybe can you tell if someone's blind? Besides them just telling,
yes, the way they look and move their head and stuff like this, you would notice
they could
that
prove
someone
it to you.
Someone that can't see could now see.
What I'm saying, if you have a personality that can see and you're blind, I think that it's likely that people would go, okay, you can obviously see, and so you must just be pretending you can't in your other personality. I think that because they even have that scene where but
the bee allergy thing, that's a horse of a different color.
No, yeah, that's
and the way
what if it's a cat allergy? What if when you have one personality and you're in a room for 10 minutes with a cat and you start sneezing like crazy, but another personality takes over and they go out and buy a cat and they're fine? That's a horse of a different color.
And she says that it was a woman who was blind for 10 years and then got 3 other personalities. Well, we would know that she was blind.
Yeah.
It's just, I really think it should have just been him. Like, they could have talked about the idea and things like this.
And it should just be a really extreme case, because this is getting into what this universe ends up being, but wasn't Mr. Glass, like, the most extreme case?
And he doesn't...
it's not about his having powers, but wasn't he, like, the most extreme case of his physical condition? It's like, he was real unusual, and that nobody else was that brittle.
Yeah.
So this could be that, and I think it is supposed to be that.
I'm confused. Is type 1 like the most severe? Because he says in Unbreakable that he's type 1, whatever it is. So I don't even know if he has the most severe version of. He might have like a mild version of it. I don't know. I could have it backwards. Maybe type 1 is the most extreme.
Yeah, because he's able to even function.
Yeah, because I just watched Unbreakable, and I specifically remember he says he's type 1.
I'm glad you did that.
Oh,
obviously I wasn't prepared.
No, I think he's right, because I think the whole point is, anyone else that has that disease dies as an infant.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's the only person who's ever lived with it.
Mm-hmm.
But that still makes an extreme case.
Yeah. But this should be, and again, it kind of is in that it creates the beast and it ends up being bulletproof.
And that makes him unique, but it seems like he came up with all of this stuff to justify that, and I'm okay with that being just this guy. You don't need to tell me that all people with DID change and become different people.
Yeah, but then the problem is, how did such a surprising, isolated, and extreme case happen if we weren't like genetically building to it? I would assume this is kind of like X-Men, where there's like a mutation or something.
Yeah, I don't know. How did it happen in Unbreakable?
Well, that's a good question.
Because it goes back to that line where she's like, this might be the root of where we...
Okay, but that's okay, because she doesn't know about any other powers. So she's postulating something and she's wrong. I mean, I'm fine with that.
Well, no. My point is, because this may be the root of where we like get all supernatural beliefs.
Right.
Okay, if that's the case, why aren't there notes about this throughout history? Like, I feel like...
But again, I just think she's wrong.
But she's not wrong about everybody else with DID. Like, a blind person goes to sight. I feel like we would know about this stuff even before we have science.
It's almost a culture behind the scenes that nobody knows about. Also, even in the context of this world, as we're talking about this, I'm not buying that he's allowed to live by himself.
I'm not either.
I don't
buy that he's allowed to live at work.
Well, I don't think it's that he's allowed to. They didn't know he was down there. They had no idea he was down there.
Oh, yeah.
What is the line about work? I never picked up on that. I don't think that's what it is.
He says something about being at work or something like that.
Well, he's talking about how he has a job that he likes a lot.
Yeah, he's the chief, or he's the highest-ranking custodian of the zoo, I think. And then, because I think he mentions that, like, I think he works at the zoo, he's like a janitor or something, and they gave him that place when he got, because there's like a really offhand line where he's like, they gave me this place when I was promoted to like chief of custodian.
Oh, okay.
And then when she talks to the walkie-talkie, she has to be talking to somebody nearby. Clearly security of some kind.
I kind of like, I mean, the zoo thing ends up being the reveal that it is because of the animal motif.
Yeah.
And a part of me kind of likes that just because it was a really strange place, and I enjoyed not. And you figured it out.
I did,
but I didn't. And I
figure it
kind
out.
of enjoyed that I didn't figure it out.
Well,
but I like the clues. I like that he's talking about like cool factoids about tigers and lions.
Oh yeah, I didn't even pick up on that.
And I like the walkie-talkie because that's a big clue.
Mm-hmm.
And because it's like, okay, there's somebody nearby. Who is that? Where would they be? And then we see that guy at the end, and he's like, oh crap, I screwed up. There really was somebody down there. I liked all that.
Yeah, no, I liked all that too. I don't have a problem with. It's just weird that the zoo is treated as a reveal. But if you didn't pick up on it, I guess that. But I don't know what that reveal is supposed to mean to the audience. It's like, oh, it was a zoo the whole time. Like, what are you supposed to get from that, even if you didn't?
It's a thematic reveal.
Okay.
Yeah. Because like, I don't think that M. Night Shyamalan is thinking, this is gonna blow their mind. Like, I think that he's just
I don't think he is either. They were in
a zoo the whole time!
It also works for like a supervillain motif, right? That like, he works at a zoo.
He's a lair.
And I like the idea of like the uncaged animal that lives under where all the caged animals are, and then he's been trying to, the personalities have been trying to keep the animal caged, but it comes out. Mm-hmm. I'm glad it doesn't end with him like running amok at the zoo. It might have done that.
Yeah, that could have been bad.
So, Rasco, again, the big reason that we decided to see this movie together was because Rasco was like, Logan, you have to see this movie. And I was like, well, do you want to see it again? He was like, oh yeah. He's like, it'll be fun to see your reaction. And my reaction was this. I just lost
it. You kept like nudging him, you're like, no.
I couldn't, and I don't do that a lot in the theater, but I'm like, that was like Thanos at the end of Avengers for me. I was just like, I lost it. And
I think the last time I felt surprise and excitement in a movie where I didn't know, like I kind of suspected in the last like 2 minutes, like right before it happens. But
we're going up that staircase in Avengers, and I'm like, oh boy, it's gonna be Thanos. But anyway, so we're sitting there watching this, and the last thing, I kept waiting for it to cut and thinking I was gonna be really disappointed or that I was gonna feel stupid. Going, why did I have to see this so bad?
What makes it so great?
And so I had this moment where I was like, because okay, it's a Shyamalan movie. People are talking about the ending. It's got to be some kind of earth-shattering reveal. Is it the zoo? Is that the big deal? And then we get to the end, and there's like the uncle, and I'm like, is that some kind of a reveal? And then we finally get it, and I was like, my mind exploded because, and I don't know why, but I had this moment halfway through. I think partly just because it was McAvoy, and partly because Rasco was telling me I needed to watch this movie. I had this moment about halfway through where I went, I don't know how, somehow or other, this is going to turn out to be a superhero movie. I had a second. I did not at all whatsoever call the ending. That was a fleeting thought, and it went away, because I was like, there's no way. I'm going to have to review this on Rewind. What? Boosh. This is a supervillain film.
Yeah.
It's what it is. It's a supervillain origin story, and they have set up a new antagonist for
Unbreakable.
For Unbreakable, yeah. It's, oh boy, that's so cool.
But it's interesting that both you and I, while watching the film, were thinking like, what is this? Is there a superhero component? Because it only makes sense if there's a superhero component, but for different reasons.
Yeah.
Okay, but here's the thing.
Like, this film would be a really good arch nemesis for that character.
Aside from how good McAvoy is, I feel like the only reason to see this film, other than that, is that last 10 seconds. I don't feel like this is a great film. I feel like it's a great film because, oh my god, it's in the Unbreakable universe.
Yeah, and
it's this weird twist thing. Like, watching it as a normal movie, I'm like, is the twist that he is the Beast? Like, it's a horror movie. I expected
here's the thing,
that.
there doesn't have to be a twist at all. And necessarily, and like Shyamalan usually has that, but it's not like R.L. Stine where it's like you must have a or maybe he is like the adult version of R.L. Stine.
Sure.
Where people really expect there to be some kind of a twist at the end. But here's the thing. I liked it more than you did, and if the credits had hit and we didn't have that last 10 seconds, I wouldn't know what the heck Rasco was talking about. But I still think I would have walked out being glad I saw it and thought I saw a good movie. It wasn't a great movie by any stretch. It's not as good as Unbreakable.
No.
But again, that performance with McAvoy is amazing.
No, the performance is amazing.
But I would have left with this feeling of a little bit of, okay, but what about that?
Yeah.
But here's the thing. The movie wouldn't have ended the way it did if it weren't for the fact that it's in the Unbreakable universe, because the reason he's left on his own and doesn't get taken in by the police at the end is because he wants to leave it open so he can use him again.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you only do that if you set him up to be a supervillain, I guess, or unless it's like supposed to be a sequel bait. But without this being in the Unbreakable universe, which is a sentence I did not think I would be saying today,
the Unbreakable verse.
Yeah, I would not have expected Shyamalan to be trying to set this up as the beginning of a franchise. So I don't think he would have left him that way.
Yeah, I don't know. Because I can almost see this being a script and then him being like, it would be cool. But he's also been saying for years he knows what the sequel to Unbreakable is. He always intended Unbreakable to be a trilogy, and then he just kind of decided to just do the first one.
If this was always his plan, that's cool.
Yeah, do the superhero origin, do the supervillain origin, and then do...
And
Mr. Glass is coming back if he's doing the third one.
Yeah. Probably.
Well, yeah, he'd have to. Something that you said after the movie, where you're like, well, now, hang on, Mr. Glass didn't have powers. I think the line was
on the news. Yes, he's on the news. They're like, there was this man 15 years ago.
No. That's what Bruce Willis says. Bruce Willis's line was 15 years ago. I knew a man. His name was Mr. Glass. That's his line. He says that. And
No. It's the people speculating about it. The news is talking about, and they're like, wasn't there a guy 15 years ago?
The news says that there's this guy, people are calling him the Horde. Then, then the camera's panning down the bar, and one woman's like, what was the name of that guy 15 years ago that was on the news? And then it shows Bruce Willis, and he's like, his name is Mr. Glass.
Okay, I'm remembering it wrong, because I thought the question was, is there anybody that actually believes in this stuff? I thought it was, I thought that's what it was, and he was talking about him, so it wasn't that Mr. Glass has superpowers, it was that he believed in this stuff.
No, it's because they were asking who was that guy 15 years ago on the news. And I was like, why would you put those two things together other than the fact that you're in the Unbreakable verse?
I gotta see it again.
Yeah,
that scene made perfect sense to me in the theater, but I also was shell-shocked, so...
Yeah, no. Well, and because he's great at tension, right? Like, we're both watching it being like, it's gonna be Bruce Willis. It's gonna be Bruce Willis. It is Bruce Willis. He was dead the whole time! I didn't see it coming!
Yeah, I don't know. That was nuts. But I don't feel like the only thing I got out of this movie was that reveal. I also feel like the more I think about it, some of that's likely to fall apart a little bit. I'm not real sure. I need to give this a second watch.
Yeah, me too. Absolutely. Because like I said, I have no idea how I feel. Because everything's recontextualized for me now, and I'm like, okay, well, if it's a superhero universe, I can run with some of this stuff a little bit more. I kind of want to see it again and see if I like it again.
I feel like...
Or see if I like it more.
I feel like I'm missing stuff with that girl.
Me too.
The girl at the end. I really think somehow or rather she's got to have superpowers. I don't get it. I don't know what that is. And I'm sure the internet has figured this out without me.
She seems to know a lot of stuff that she shouldn't know.
So feel free to leave comments.
She doesn't react to him at the beginning of the movie. Her background's real generic. Like, just tragic character. The most generic tragic backstory. Like, I don't get what I'm supposed to get from her.
Yeah, and when he says you're special, it's not enough that she just has a tragic back. When he's like you're pure, she's innocent because something happened to her. I get all that, but he seems to react to the scars, and I don't think it's enough that she just has them. Like he's got to see something. He's got to see something else. And I'm confused. I thought I missed her actually having some kind of a power.
He's so terrifying in that scene.
Oh yeah, he's mortifying.
His face when he pulls the bars is crazy.
Yeah.
Like, and people always
talk the blood coming through the teeth.
Yeah, no, that was horrifying. Like, people always talk about like brave art. I think that like you don't get any braver than James McAvoy in this movie. Like, how do you go to M. Night Shyamalan, this guy who has a really shoddy record at this point, and he's like, okay, look, you're gonna play a 9-year-old, a woman, this really weird, creepy guy, and then tons of other characters that you're just going to have to change in and out of, and you're gonna have to do this and dance and all of this crazy stuff. Like, how do you do that? How do you go, yeah, okay, I'll do this. Like, that is
it's because he's played Xavier and now he wants to play Magneto.
Yeah.
Because that's his entire thing, right? Like, there's a new breed of people coming, we're going to replace humans. Like, he's Magneto in this universe.
Yeah, but what's fascinating about it is he's also a bunch of other people.
Yes.
Because that's just
I go to Magneto
Beast.
McAvoy.
Yeah, but the Beast is Magneto. Mm-hmm. The other 23 personalities are all kinds of other stuff.
Yeah.
The identity stuff in this is interesting to think about. You know, the questioning like whether or not the personalities deserve to be considered actual people, and
well, and I thought it was weird that like because things change in you, like your eyes will change a little bit, like you can be allergic to different things, but like when he becomes a woman, his body doesn't change at all and become like it's not like he's pumped full of like estrogen or something like that, right? Like he's just a guy.
I mean, he could
maybe if he stayed in that form.
Yeah, like maybe if that personality just
transformation.
Oh, yeah. Interesting.
Because the Beast is different than all the rest of them. When we talk about it,
he has an instantaneous change too.
And it's a physical transformation. And that's why it's not supposed to sound possible. There was a place I thought it was going that I was kind of glad it didn't go to. There's an exchange where the darker personality that's in charge but not supposed to be, that pretends to be somebody else earlier.
Yeah.
He says something, I think it's him, he says something, because there's all these characters in this movie played by one person, he says something to the psychiatrist to the effect of the Beast being like separate or out there or something, and she's like, okay, well now this is going too far. There must be limitations to what a human being could do. I thought it had physically split off another entity into a physical manifestation, and that it was out there somewhere and was going to show up.
Well,
and I was kind of glad we didn't go.
We hide the top of his.
But is that too much crazier than?
And I kept waiting for when we get to the top of his face for him to have mouths for eyes or something. When we finally see the top of his face, I'm like, oh, it's Jay McAvoy. His eyes are black, or his pupils are
hugely dilated.
Yeah, but I don't get why we're hiding his face.
I didn't know why they kept him secluded like that, and that was another place where I thought
I'm not getting something.
Rasco had this was the reason that I was here, and Rasco wanted me here because I thought for sure, especially because how long we secluded him, and that was the most tedious part of the movie, by the way.
Yeah, I agree.
It was good tension, but once we got to him, I was like, well, okay,
Yeah.
But she's trying to get the door open. She's trying to get the latch unlocked with the coat hanger, and then we keep cutting to him getting closer and closer. And they have that. It was a nice looking shot, but they have that really obvious symbolic shot of the street lamp overhead of him because he's walking into the light and then out of it, and this is all about personalities coming in and out of the light.
Yeah.
We all got that, I think. But anyway, so he's on his way, and we keep. By the way, you know what else? There's foreshadowing for the fact that it's going to be in the Unbreakable universe because we're in a train. I just thought of that.
Yeah, but that's really deeply connected with his backstory, where she says he's born on a train because it's his father left him in a train yard, something like that. I wasn't thinking Unbreakable because it was...
No, and I wasn't either. I'm just saying that's why he picked a train. Because Unbreakable opens on a train.
Yeah, you probably...
The train motif might be a thing through Shyamalan movies, because I haven't seen them all. He might do that in other places too, but...
There's no train in the village.
If he doesn't, that's why it's a train, I imagine.
No train in signs, no train in the village.
I think he's dropping breadcrumbs. I mean, talking about supernatural stuff and superpowers, that's a breadcrumb, and the train might be a breadcrumb. But anyway, when he gets back, I thought for sure, especially when he first starts transforming and we see from behind him, I thought he was going to turn into a different actor, and I thought that's why I was there watching this movie. I thought he was going to turn into Patrick Stewart, which would have been crazy. Why isn't he an older guy? Or he was going to turn into Tom Hardy. And he totally could have been Tom Hardy, but that would have been an interesting way to go. That I might have been bought and been okay with. If with the physical transformation, the Beast has a different face than he does. I might have been okay with that.
Yeah, but still narrative. I don't know. In the experience I was having with this movie, I'm like, okay, and now he's got superpowers. I expect him to have superpowers. It's a horror movie. I am waiting for what is the reason everyone's talking about this movie.
Yeah.
And it's that ending, but then that makes me think I would like the rest of the movie more, knowing
if you knew it,
knowing the universe it takes place in. I wouldn't have mixed feelings.
You wouldn't have wanted to walk in knowing it because that experience was so. For me,
we've talked about this
wonderful.
before. We will never be surprised going to a movie ever again.
And I was. It's a big deal to me.
Yeah.
And of course, I think 30% of the audience is going to know what the hell.
And you know what's crazy is. We didn't find out.
I can't believe that.
Yeah, I can't believe we did not find out.
And I was kind of trying to avoid spoilers, but I wasn't working that hard at it. I'm really surprised that... And I didn't hear from that many people about this either. You were you gotta see it, and maybe
that's the thing,
a couple other subscribers.
Because you don't know that it's part of Unbreakable, so I think a lot of people are oh, Shyamalan, he sucks ass, and I can't even say that on this channel, but they think that, and then they're not gonna go see this movie.
And they're gonna go, yes, of course, there's a trick ending.
Yeah,
and that's exactly what I thought.
That's what I thought too.
Oh, he finally did a twist ending.
But there was something in Rasco's eyes that told me there was more to. He goes, you need to see this movie.
It was the body language.
Okay, and it wasn't just there's going to be some kind of O. Henry ending. It wasn't because it was a good Twilight Zone episode. It was there was something special.
And I wasn't here for that conversation.
No, you weren't.
So
that was a week on GNN. You were gone.
And so I because Rasco's not the only person. I've heard some people talk about this movie, you need to see this movie, that kind of thing. But never in a million years did I think, oh, Unbreakable. I was like, he just finally did a twist ending again that people liked.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Mm-hmm. And again, the only other way it would have made sense for Rasco to have that eye thing is he turns into Patrick Stewart. And it's just because the thing is, you kept saying the ending is crazy. And I thought he just dialed it to 11 and went to a place that you just don't go. And so I was trying to figure out what that was.
Well,
But,
well,
you know,
yeah, because I'm
that
sitting-
is what it is. It's a place you don't really go.
I'm sitting through this entire movie, especially as it keeps going. I am waiting for it to become the movie from adaptation, where everyone is the serial killer, and there's a car chase while they're both the same.
I thought
person,
somehow
and
the girl at the end was going to turn out to be one of the personalities.
Me too. And like I'm trying to think, I'm like, okay,
But I couldn't figure out
this
how that was
person has
possible.
interacted with that person. Oh, and because I thought the psychiatrist was going to turn out to be one of them. I'm like, but then she Skypes with people. But is that in his brain? Like,
Shyamalan intentionally made her seem a little off somehow.
yeah.
I think it's just kind of
And she's
seclusion
dumb,
thing, right?
She's real dumb. Have you seen how jacked McAvoy is? Why would she go there knowing that he has a dangerous personality? Alone.
Yeah.
That was a huge mistake.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have done that.
That being said, she does know the word. See, okay, so because I think she knows the word.
The name, yeah.
And how he kills her is he squeezes the air out of her so she can't speak.
That makes of course.
So like I think she knew, and that's what
she thought she could just say it.
Yeah, but he literally attacked her in a way where she.
Okay, so
couldn't
why
speak.
did it work
And
the
importantly,
first time,
it's
but
the
not
monster
again?
version.
Yeah.
Importantly, it's the monster version that does that to her. So,
Mm-hmm.
like, if it wasn't that, he wouldn't have been strong enough to collapse her that way before she had a chance to say the name. So she at least thinks she has a failsafe, but I still wouldn't have gone there alone. I don't think.
Yeah. And why? Yeah, because knowing that you can shut him down doesn't stop you from stabbing. It doesn't stop him from stabbing you in the back.
Shooting you.
Yeah.
Throwing things at you.
At the same time, there is a little bit of like moral ambiguity with her character because
Yeah, that's right.
she knows that one of the personalities, I think his name is Dennis, likes to see underage girls dance naked. Like, she talks about that.
Yep.
So she has some sort of, like, and she even says, like, I've given up a regular family life for my patients. Like, my patients are my family. So she goes there, I think, because she doesn't want him to be taken into a mental institution or arrested or any of these things. And she's not entirely like just this person she is a little bit morally ambiguous because she knows things. She knows he's dangerous, but she wants to help him because she thinks that understanding this is more important than simply getting him into
And her
custody.
reaction when she opens the door is really, like, almost of a parent, where it's like, you've done a bad thing and you need to undo this. It is not immediately like, I'm calling the cops, you're coming with me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and part of the reason she wants to help him too is that innate scientific curiosity. It's like totally overwhelming her.
But even when he was coming into her office, like the second I'm like, oh, you might be the bad personality, I'm getting other people in that room.
Yeah.
Like, I was always worried that she was going to die.
There's and then I wondered things like she seems to be intentionally like secluding herself and closing herself off. We never see really anybody else in that room.
But
I don't think she does that meeting through Skype. I thought that was going to be an important point.
She this is just a thing about their relationship with her. The reason the Beast comes into existence is because they're afraid that she is the only person that can protect them, like their identity. She's the only one, because he has that line where he's like, how old are you? And he's like, have you always lived alone? And he's like, what happens when you're gone? Like, who's going to be here for us? And then
It's like a survival instinct.
Yeah, and then that's why I think the Beast manifests itself, is because they need one instinct that can take care of them, right? Like, they need someone to be there, and that's what the Beast is. He's like, doesn't matter what happens to her or any other doctor, they don't need anyone to understand them if the Beast is there and he's the peak of human evolution, and like, there's nothing else they need. Like, he's there to protect them.
If the idea is supposed to be that she's the reason he's not in an institution or something, and nobody really knows about him, that needs to be made clearer. Because I'm not
like he's just a regular patient.
positive that's what it is, and she seems to be talking about him with other doctors.
And she's getting reports from his work performance.
No, she's just giving a lecture there, though. That's not with a bunch of other psychiatrists, is it?
But she's getting reports from his performance at work.
Okay, so people know.
Yeah,
know
people
about
know
her.
about it. Yeah, and yeah.
Okay,
But they don't necessarily know.
They might not know he has multiple personalities.
because like, I'm sure only one of the personalities works there. Like, when he's at work, he is one person, so no one would know. It could just be like, I go to therapy because anything,
Okay,
right? Like, they don't know that he's necessarily
What
just multiple
personality
personalities.
is it that has the job?
I think it's Barry. It's the fashionista guy, right?
Yeah, it's Barry.
Okay.
But when when we find out that like these girls played this prank, which is not a prank.
I didn't understand that, and I thought he was lying about it, and I was really confused about that.
Well, and
then it turns out that he's not.
Well, and what was weird about that is like when he's in any of his personalities, it's not like he seems like he's mentally unstable. He seems like a normal person when you're talking to any of these singular personalities. What would like? How is that a prank?
With 2 exceptions.
Well, yeah. But how is that a prank? Like if he was like mentally slow or something, I could maybe see in a really skewed worldview where like people are just kind of awful doing something like that. Like, you don't even know.
But what are the odds?
He's just a normal person.
Who says it's a prank though? Because I think he says it's a prank because he's trying to downplay what happened.
I don't know what happened, though.
Yeah, I'm not sure. And she says it broke him.
What happened?
I think that he had...
what we're told is that a couple of girls got him to
touch them in
an appropriate place. I thought that was unreliable. I didn't trust that.
But I thought she was the one that said it was a prank.
Well, here's the thing.
Because he's trying to downplay it. He's like, it was just a high school prank. Like, that's what he says.
The thing is, But like, does she know for sure exactly what happened? That was kind of my question.
Well, and
how does she know about it? Was it because if it's just he told her, you can't trust that.
But it seems like an inciting incident because that's why Dennis is coming back out is to protect him because she says that like instant broke him. And I don't know what that guy looks like broken, but I'm going to imagine if you're working with him, you know something's not right. Like, even if Barry's normally a dominant personality,
yeah,
if he has a psychological breakdown, something's not right with that guy, right?
Of course, yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, and some of this might be cleared up with just another
viewing,
absolutely. But you've had 2 now, and you're still confused about some of this stuff.
It doesn't, like... I have less questions than I think you guys do. Like, I think that essentially what happened there is he has obviously repressed probably memories, but also like kind of emotions. And that was Eric was right. Like, that's the inciting incident that kind of makes the other personalities jump and take control of him. And so, like, what are you still confused about? Like, I'm confused as to what, like, is still confusing for you. Because, like, the one personality...
No, because we were talking about, do the people at the zoo know that he has multiple personalities?
Yeah.
And my question is, if that prank broke him, wouldn't people then know? Because, like, there's no way that guy's mental breakdown is just him, like, crying.
And what I'm confused about, very simply, is just, I didn't buy that prank. I didn't buy
that
would
seems
happen.
real weird.
And so I wasn't sure I understood the prank, because I don't buy that would happen.
Or if it was like an unreliable narrative. Yeah, I don't know.
And if it is what they say it is, that's a little sloppy writing, I think. That's forced in there to create that inciting incident. And it's not even generic like you're saying the backstory for the girl is. It's just strange and I'm not buying it.
No, it's real weird.
Yeah, I think it would work better.
That's not a big logical question. I'm just it took me out. I'm not sure I bought that would happen.
It's weird. Like, I wonder what that. Really, what we need is some sort of like security footage, like of what happened to him.
Help.
Like, we should get a scene of her, replace the Skype scene, and just put a scene of her investigating. Because they have a scene where she's sitting down with M. Night Shyamalan, and they're going through security footage of. Like, that's outside of her, like, apartment building and everything.
He hasn't aged a day, by the way.
Yeah, I know. He still looks really young. But he was very young when he started. I think he was, like, 20-something. Like, he was early 20s when Sixth Sense came out. So, but yeah, I'll just point this out, too. He's in all of his movies. In Unbreakable, he is, like, a guy at the stadium who, like, maybe was buying drugs.
Yeah, I remember that.
And it's M. Night Shyamalan, but, like, he's not... Maybe he is that guy, and he's on, like, a different life path now.
Funny. Well, and you know what? I had a split second where I was like, that can't be Shyamalan.
He's
too young. There's no way that's him. I was like... In fact, I had a second where I was like, wow, Shyamalan found a guy that looks a lot like him and put him in the movie.
I really like that scene where he walks through the trash, and he's like, well, that's weird, and she's like, well, that's him putting on a show. Any normal person will walk around it.
Yeah.
I really like that. I don't know if I need to be told it, but I liked it.
Yeah, because there's a lot of that.
Well, and it's weird because I'm like, if I wasn't told it, would I have picked up on it? Like, I'm not sure.
I think a bona fide Unbreakable sequel, because you can't do a third one where we don't know what's in this universe. Like,
yeah, no, the third one has to be.
And it's got McAvoy in it.
Yeah.
And I imagine that's where he's got to be going.
Yeah.
When we when he puts out another one, I think
And is that the next movie he does?
Well, that's a question too. But if and when he makes that, because I'm sure it's going to depend on how well this is doing. But this seems to be doing okay.
I hear a lot of buzz about it.
Don't you think this was the way to? Real risky. Like we're talking about, especially with the stuff McAvoy had to do. But wasn't this probably the way to do this instead of just making an Unbreakable 2 to get people excited about an Unbreakable 2?
Making the fact that it isn't an Unbreakable, it's a shared universe, sure.
Yeah.
Making that the twist, like the Shyamalan twist.
So smart.
It makes it better. Like,
yeah, it's such a satisfying.
Yeah, because would you have been excited if he came out, like we knew leading up to this, he is doing another movie in the Unbreakable universe?
No, and isn't it, and I still have not sat down and watched this, and you said it's really good, I need to do this, but this is the opposite of 10 Cloverfield Lane. It's exactly the opposite of that.
Yeah. And I actually, okay.
Because that is a movie that had, it's a similar thing in advertising in the sense that we didn't know about it for the longest time, and this we just didn't know what it was. Mm-hmm. But like 10 Cloverfield Lane, it has the word Cloverfield in it, but as far as anybody can tell, it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with that universe. And this has nothing about Unbreakable anywhere in the advertising or the title or anything. You get to the end, and it is clearly, definitely in that universe. That's fascinating.
10 Cloverfield Lane is a movie I was thinking about a lot while watching this movie. It's a better version of this movie in certain ways.
Oh, interesting.
I don't want to tell you what ways,
but
there are certain ways where I'm like, this is a very similar movie to that, but I liked that movie better.
Or am I wrong and there is anything that makes it clear that that is definitely the same world?
No, it is, and they've come out, because 10 Cloverfield Lane is a completely different script and movie until J.J. Abrams is like, I'll give you some extra money and we'll make a Cloverfield movie, and then they reshot some stuff. It is not a Cloverfield movie. They basically explain it like Twilight Zone.
Okay.
It's another Cloverfield movie, but it doesn't have anything.
It's an excuse to get scripts made that otherwise no one would touch. We put a brand name on it.
These are good scripts that need a slightly higher budget than you would normally give them. So we'll make them Cloverfield.
Yeah, like they're movies you just wouldn't get now. You would have gotten them in like the 80s or something like that.
And if Abrams had just directed it, that name would have been enough, but he didn't. So that's probably why they did that.
Well, he didn't direct the first one.
No, I know, but if he had directed that movie...
Or if... I can never remember who directed the first one, but he was bad in that movie. But whoever did...
I don't know if that would help, though, because I don't think people realize... I think a lot of people think Abrams directed that first movie.
That's true.
But anyway, I digress. I just wanted to mention that this is, at the very least, genius business.
Absolutely. Because people are going to be talking about it.
It's also not like cheap, right? Because cheap thing to do was this is Unbreakable sequel. Like that would be the easy route to take. It's really
this is not the safe choice.
Yeah, if they had told us that in the first place, you would have gone the whole way going, okay, what does this have to do with Unbreakable? And then we kind of has superpowers.
And then we would get to the last scene and be like, so it's like the Avengers? It's like shared universe? Who cares?
Yeah, it's really weird. It's like a meta thing because it relies on like outside of the film to create the twist, right? Because like if you show this movie to someone and you say this, you have to watch Unbreakable first, and then you get to watch this. You've ruined it, right? Like it's no longer the same thing.
Yeah,
but it makes it the most awkward thing ever to recommend to anyone.
Yeah.
Other than the fact that you can recommend it 100% of McAvoy's performance.
Yeah, no, you can just say like he gives one of the greatest performances of the year, and I think this movie had early showings last year, so that's why I say of the year, because it was technically a movie of last year. But
was it?
Yeah, it came out. I know that they had screenings. I think at I don't know what film festival it was.
We're real lucky we didn't.
Yeah, we are really lucky that we did not know.
Yeah, but it's interesting you said that you kind of felt like this was like a 10 Cloverfield Lane type movie, because that's exactly what I said to Connor after I saw this. I was like, it occupies that slot. Like, this kind of scratches that same itch that 10 Cloverfield Lane did. And so, like, I definitely agree with that. It's actually one of the things that immediately popped into my head. It kind of felt like it occupied that same kind of need.
One of the things that makes it really awkward to recommend to people, though, is you've got to know whether or not they've seen Unbreakable. Because even if you just show it to people based on that performance, I wouldn't have liked it as much if I didn't know Unbreakable.
Yeah, absolutely.
I liked it.
Because the second
more than you did.
The second you see the Unbreakable stuff, everything starts like clicking together a little bit. Where you're like, oh,
okay, I see what you did there.
So
I'm really glad I saw it.
Yeah, me too. And I'm really glad I didn't have it spoiled. I don't know what I would have thought going in knowing it was Unbreakable, but I didn't know.
I didn't think this would wind up on my superhero movie shelf.
Nope.
It's weird. Because again, it doesn't
You
watch
should
like
start a supervillain movie shelf.
Yeah, it doesn't start like a superhero like a superhero movie, or excuse me, it doesn't watch like a superhero movie at all until you get to the end. And you realize, oh, it's the origin for a villain, and that's exactly what it is.
Yep.
Anyway, well, Rasco, thanks a bunch for getting us to go see it.
You're welcome. I'm glad it didn't get spoiled.
Yeah, me too. I haven't done this in the theater in a long time.
Yeah.
That was a big deal.
My mouth was literally open. Like, when I saw the movie the first time, like, I was just, like, uncontrollably giddy leaving the theater. I was, like, talking to myself, because I was just like, that is so crazy. Just the last thing I ever would have expected. And I had just seen Unbreakable earlier that week.
Really? I thought you maybe went back to it.
Oh, no. I had seen Unbreakable, like, way back, but I hadn't seen that movie in so long.
No, but when you said you just saw it recently, I figured you watched it again because of this.
Oh, no.
That's great.
I literally, the week that this movie came out, I'm, like, sitting at home, I'm watching all the M. Night Shyamalan movies, and I get to Unbreakable, I'm like, this is a good movie. It's probably my favorite one. And then I go see this movie, and, like, I had just seen it, so the music is so, like, in my head. And then at the very end...
He said it's the score.
Yeah, and then when it pops up, you get split, and I'm like, this is from Unbreakable. And I'm just like, oh my god.
Oh, they put some of the score, because I haven't seen it so long.
It's actually when he's looking in the mirror.
Oh boy, that's so cool!
When he's looking in the mirror, and they're all like talking to each other, it's like that really sad music that's like,
yeah,
and it's like that keeps playing, and I'm like,
is that what music sounds like to you?
No, that's how it goes. Like, that's how the Unbreakable score goes. It's like,
okay, see, that sounds like music.
Yeah, it's like that.
What you did before was like,
what you did sounded like stepping on cats.
It sounded like the old modem connection.
Well, little did you know that's actually how they recorded that. It was stepping on cats.
Modems and cat stepping. That's how they got that sound.
But it was awesome. I just, like, watching that, I was like, did they just get lazy and put that in here? Like, what are they doing? And then the next thing happens.
Because
like,
it's Unbreakable.
Did they forget that they'd used this music before? did M. Night Shyamalan just find, like, this sounds new. Let me put this in my new movie.
It also made me want to go back and watch everything McAvoy's ever done.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I want to see you watch The Filth.
Okay.
The Filth is an amazing movie. It is... I don't think you'll like it. It's real dirty. It's like Fight Club. But
I like
it's
Fight Club.
cerebralist. It's not cerebralist, and it's way more negative than Fight Club. I don't know. I want to see you watch The Filth because that's a real uncomfortable movie, and I want to watch you watch it. I don't have to watch it again because it's kind of uncomfortable. I'm going to sit behind the TV. I'm going to watch you watch it.
Also, what's exciting though about...
You're going to put on a blindfold, and you're just going to listen to my reactions.
What's exciting about McAvoy is that, like, at the end of this movie, you know that you're going to get more, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's not like, oh, okay, that was a good performance.
And I didn't know that until Bruce Willis.
Yeah, it's so cool. And also, go back, the second time through, the word, like, broken is all over this movie. And I just think that's so cool that, like, he is a person who values broken people. He himself is, like, a broken individual. And Bruce Willis is unbreakable. Like, he can't get injured. That's, like, perfect.
Well,
That's
and something that I like, that I liked in this film, and I like even more if we ever get more, is that they make this big deal that there are 23 personalities. Mm-hmm. We do not see 23 personalities. He did not try to come up with 23 different takes, but he's come up with the ones that he has, and if he does a sequel...
He knows what all the names are.
And if he does a sequel, he can do some of the other ones. Uh-huh. And some of the ones we've already seen before.
I was a little disappointed for a minute that we didn't get more until I realized, he's starting a franchise, or continuing a franchise.
Yeah, well, I didn't mind because I thought about that. I'm like, it's supposed to be 23, I've seen like 4. And I was like, well, these 2 are supposed to be these 3 are supposed to be the most predominant right now. It makes sense narratively.
I was surprised we didn't get more talk about them and stuff.
Yeah.
And then it turns out there's a really good reason.
One guy is apparently just a history buff. That's all he can say.
And he puts everything in history metaphors?
Yeah.
Where it takes him like 5 sentences just spewing history till we get to what the point is.
This is what it's like.
He acts like he's just reading from an encyclopedia and he goes, it's like that, that's why I said it! Yeah.
You could have said Beaches of Normandy, but for some reason you went into like a 15-minute conversation about Greek history? Like, Beaches of Normandy would have sufficed.
It would have taken you no time to say that. We all know what you're talking about. We're at about an hour. Any final thoughts?
I really need to see. I don't know if I care enough to see it again in theaters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not. But I definitely want to see this again because I have no idea what my opinion on this film is, honestly.
But there's a part of me that wants to take Sarah, because, I mean, she'll cringe a little with some of this movie, but she really likes Unbreakable.
But how do you get her to it?
Yeah. It's so hard. I've had this conversation.
It's like her with the frog face.
I've done this 3 times. I have tried to explain why it's important for people to go see this movie to 3 different people, and it's so hard to do. It is so incredibly hard to explain to people why they need to go see this movie, because you can't say it's Unbreakable, because you can't say you need to watch Unbreakable. You can't see anything. It's like, you just have to, like, hope that people have seen Unbreakable and not bring it up.
Yeah, and that's why it's so awkward. And then
unrelated question: have you seen Unbreakable? No. Okay. You know what? Never mind. Let's not go see this movie.
Or like this wouldn't work either. If you liked Unbreakable, you'll like this. You get halfway in, you go, "This is nothing."
Well,
you
I
liar.
hate this movie.
Well, you could say like it's the best thing he's done since Unbreakable.
Yeah.
Because I think that's his best movie.
Yeah, and then if you said that, you wouldn't be thinking, and that's probably a fair thing to say. I mean, I haven't seen all his movies, but then you'd, and then that person probably wouldn't necessarily think, oh, Unbreakable's going to happen, and it's going to be part of it, because you really wouldn't expect that. That's such a weird surprise.
Okay, so just take a step back for a second. Pretend we don't know Unbreakable.
Yeah.
What is the ending of this movie to 60% of people that see this movie?
You have to look it up.
What is the ending of this movie to those people? And what do they walk out satisfied? If you don't know Unbreakable.
What's kind of cool about it, though, is that, like,
And there's
Unbreakable...
nothing that tells you right away, if you don't know that
it's connected to
going to
another
call back to
movie.
some other thing.
Unbreakable, that's my favorite M. Night Shyamalan movie, and it's probably his most forgotten movie of his, like, good films. Like, that's the one that I don't hear people talk about.
It seems to
very much.
only circle in superhero fans.
Yeah, like, you hear Signs,
But now's
you hear
the
Sixth
time.
Sense.
Mm-hmm. Nope, now is the time.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
It's like, it's so crazy. Like, it is perfectly timed. Like, this is the year that this movie makes the most sense to come out in. But it's also great because it gets people, if you don't know Unbreakable, you come out of this movie and you go, what was that? And you immediately look it up, and there's a million articles out, like, from day one of explaining that to people. Then they go back.
Reason,
yeah.
for no reason whatsoever, we're doing a double showing of Unbreakable and this new film Split.
No reason at all. From Fathom Events.
We rolled the dice.
No reason.
When I was
None.
when I was jokingly, or I was going to say jokingly suggesting, when I was saying you probably wouldn't want to tell someone if you like Unbreakable, you'll like this. You know what I'm imagining? Imagining the phone call, Rasco, where you tell a friend, if you'll like Unbreakable, you'll like this. And then they give you a call, and they're like, well, I went to Split. And you're like, well, what'd you think of it? It's like, you said if I liked Unbreakable, I'd like this. I walked out halfway through.
Oh, God. That would suck.
It's nothing like Unbreakable.
I walked out when it said Split. It sucked.
I saw...
And I split.
I wasn't sure about doing that title thing.
I don't know.
At the end, just because people can sometimes be kind of dense and they'll just get up and leave, especially if they didn't. But here's the thing, this isn't dense. If you didn't like, and I say dense because there's
no reason to think there's a post-credit scene. There's no reason to think that there's a franchise coming in this movie.
But the thing is, like you were suggesting earlier when we talked about this, the title's up there for 5 seconds, and then people start talking again. So we saw people leaving the theater. I didn't understand that there was more movie, clearly, and we hadn't gotten to credits yet, so I didn't know why they were leaving. But the thing is, if I were Shyamalan, because people are real uncertain about him right now, I wouldn't have even risked putting the title up and maybe seeing people leave.
And I will say, while I don't think it's a perfect movie, I think it is the best thing he's done since Unbreakable. I like it more than The Village.
Yeah.
I really like the first 2/3 of Signs, but I haven't seen Signs in a while, so I can't really make that call. But I mean, obviously, it's better than Happening or Late in the Water or Avatar.
Yeah. This is like something that I don't know if this was intentional. I have to assume it was. I told my friend to go see this movie, and I was like, "Have you seen all of M. Night Shyamalan's movies?" And he was like, "No, I haven't seen Unbreakable." And I was like, "No, but here's the thing. The next day, it was on TV, and he watched it. And I have to assume that somebody knew that, and they were putting it on TV, because apparently, like, that's just been all over TV recently."
That's awesome! So, like, if that was on purpose, that's
Just
really
subconsciously,
smart.
you're like, I haven't seen Unbreakable. Well,
or, like, TV. All of the sudden, in all the retail stores, Unbreakable goes down to, like, $3.
Yeah, that needs to happen.
It goes on Netflix and Hulu and Amazon simultaneously.
I want to walk in like Walmart or Target, and they just have like a big end cap that's just, if you like Split, and it's just a wall of Unbreakable.
Or it's like, movies by M. Night Shyamalan. Nothing but Unbreakable. But yeah, my mind was blown.
Mine too.
I was not expecting that.
I'm excited.
It was like being in an electric chair for a second. It was really cool. Not that that would be a fun experience, but it was really cool. Anyway, anything else that needs to be said?
Not really.
Rasco, thanks, buddy. It's good to see you in the flesh, man.
Yeah. I'm actually a cyborg, so this isn't flesh.
Oh, well, it's good to see you.
It's human tissue over cybernetic.
Yeah, it's good to see you in the human tissue over the cybernetic bones. Anyway, thanks a lot for watching, folks. We sure appreciate it, and we'll see you again with more videos here on Geekvolution. I was Captain Logan, and this is Eric.
I was Eric.
And this is Rasco.
Peace out.
See you, folks.
Didn't light.
I couldn't figure out what you're doing. No one knows what you're doing.
No, I'm just playing the light.